The working title of this video is My Favorite TV Show Was Lost Until I Found It. And boy, that's going to be awkward if I change the title. But just as a quick disclaimer, this is both literal and not literal. Lost, the TV show, is not my favorite show. In fact, I've never actually seen it. It's not what was found. The Lost in the title is a reference to lost media. Basically, I found a piece of lost media and want to talk you through how I found it. Although in a bit of irony, from what I know of Lost, the TV show, even though I haven't seen it, as I said, the show that I found is probably the closest you get to a kid's version of the show Lost. In 2008, as a kid, there was a show that I absolutely loved. It was called Trapped, and no, it's not the British game show with a witch in a tower, although that was also a kids show. It was set in the desert of Australia. I used to get up and watch it at 10:30 AM on Sunday mornings on Channel 7, although I'm acting like 10:30 on a Sunday was something that was unusual for me. It'd be unusual these days, but when I was 12, not so much. I also watched it when it was later rerun on ABC3, but finding the show online was nigh on impossible, and with some research I found out why. I love lost media, and to me this was my holy grail. This is the story of how I found my favourite show from my childhood that was lost. I want to briefly take you back to 3 years ago. I made a video entitled 5 Lost Australian TV Shows, and I spoke about this show in that video, in fact. So I have some of my interest in the show documented from at least then onwards. What I knew at that point was the show was not available to buy online anymore, as it once was from the 17 South website. Given it had been possible to be purchased at some point, it wasn't out of the possibility at that point that it would be re-uploaded by someone. At least that's what I thought. All I knew outside of that was that it hadn't been on television in Australia since 2013 to the best of my research, and that the company that owned it shut down in 2014. From what I knew, this would mean that it wouldn't be televised again. It was simply a waiting game after that, but there was some movement. In 2017, a channel called ZK uploaded multiple episodes of the first series, Trapped, although they have for some reason removed all but 3 seemingly. In 2019, I downloaded what they'd uploaded, mixed with what was publicly available on YouTube at the time, and through that I had 23 of the 26 episodes of Trapped. Although now it seems you can only watch 8 episodes on YouTube. For some reason, ZK took down not only some of their own uploads, but other people's uploads of the show too, and there seems to be no rhyme or reason to that. They blocked some episodes worldwide, but not all of them. I don't get it. But what this does mean is that someone wouldn't be able to upload the entire series onto YouTube, and there's only really 1 or 2 other avenues that they could take for the series to actually not be lost. And that would be to upload it to Vimeo or Dailymotion, which doesn't have the content ID system that YouTube has, or to upload it to the archive. Alternatively, a Google Drive and share it on Reddit or something like that. Although back to ZK for a second, from what I'm aware of now, they don't have the permission to block the videos or the show worldwide, but I'll talk more about it later. So just for clarification, ZK are part of Zodiac, which will become important later on in the video. In regards to Castaway, only episodes 1 to 3 have ever been on YouTube, although only episode 3 is on YouTube currently. Zodiac has oddly enough taken down multiple uploads from the original uploaders, Northway TV. They are still viewable though on Vimeo, and it's only been within the past few years that it was taken down from YouTube to my knowledge. An upload of the Swedish dub did kind of exist. It's called Fangad. I probably butchered that pronunciation. But no episodes existed in Swedish that I didn't already have in English, except for episode 23 of the second season, Castaway. Episodes 1, 2, 6, 15, 21, 22, 25 and 26 of Trapped exist in Swedish too. Some other episodes also exist but have been blocked by Zodiac. So this is all I really had to work with. So I messaged Zodiac first on the 16th of June. All of this messaging, by the way, that I'm mentioning in this video takes place this year. For clarification. I wrote, "Hello, I'm reaching out to you in regards to the 2010 family show from Australia entitled Castaway. First season was entitled Trapped. The show was not aired here in Australia for around a decade according to my research. Videos that upload the show are claimed by quote-unquote Zodiac Kids. I assume that is your company. I'm reaching out in hopes of getting a copy of the show as it was a favourite of mine, and due to the current copyright that is being displayed by your company on YouTube, it doesn't seem likely that it will ever be uploaded at all. The show also never got a DVD release, so this is, as far as I know, my best hope and my only option." As you will see in what I share, I basically used a variation of this same email to everyone I contacted. The show isn't listed on their website either, it's all a bit strange. But I wasn't going to wait for them to respond, so I reached out to other people in the meantime. But just a spoiler about that, they never responded to me. After having no luck with Zodiac, I decided to reach out to members of the crew, but not any cast members, just crew members. How I found them was by going through IMDb and trying to find their Instagram accounts and reach out that way. But if someone doesn't follow you on Instagram, I think your messages go straight to their message request folder. And because it was just a random follow followed up by a message which was somewhat similar to the email that I just read out, I knew that there was a good chance that I would get no responses. I reached out to 14 members and I got 3 responses, which is honestly more than I thought I would. Although in saying that, I don't think it's fair to mention who they are, so for privacy reasons I'm going to keep their name private, all their names in fact, for the email that I sent to Zodiac for example, and all future discussions of conversations in this video. But from the 3 people that did respond, I learned some interesting information from them. I was told that the editor of the show may be my best bet and that someone I contacted would get in contact with them for me to see if they could help. So I forwarded them my email address and I waited. I got back some information, but unfortunately it wasn't anything new to me, outside of a new name that I hadn't reached out to already. Unfortunately that was a dead end, but they gave me even more information after that. Unfortunately, none of the crew I got in contact with had any of the show, which I found out isn't too uncommon actually. I ended up reaching out to the ABC about the show as they had previously aired it on ABC 3. They responded to my email on the 11th of July and said that they don't have a copy of the show in their archives and that I should try the National Film and Sound Archive, or the NFSA as they're also known. So I emailed the NFSA and told them that the ABC had sent me their way. To which I learned that there was a copy. The NFSA had a copy of Castaway. They didn't have the missing episodes from the first season, but it was a big step that I found out that they were archived. And I think that if I had done my research or known more in the first place, I would have found that out years ago. But it was still nice to know. I spoke to the NFSA between the 14th and 20th of July. I was originally hoping that I could pay and get a copy of the show through them, even if it was on site, but I quickly found out that that unfortunately wasn't possible. They could only offer viewing on site because they do not have the copyright, which isn't something I was anticipating. So I asked who has the copyright and they told me it was Westway Productions, which I couldn't do anything with because, if you remember earlier, Westway don't exist anymore. So I was stuck between the ABC who don't have a copy and the NFSA who do have a copy but can't give me a copy because of copyright belonging to a company that no longer exists. Although while looking for a different show, I was alerted to the term orphan work, of which the definition is copyright protected work for which rights holders are positively indeterminable or uncontactable. I thought that due to what I knew that maybe Castaway and Trapped could be considered orphan works and that maybe if I asked in the right place I could get a copy that way. Spoiler alert, I couldn't. I updated my findings to the person who told me about the show's editor. They were super helpful and told me that a part of getting the grant/money for the series, you need to deliver your series or film to the NFSA and other bodies. But who were these other bodies? Because I had reached out to the NFSA and the ABC with no luck. But another company was suggested to reach out to, Screen West, as they would apparently have a copy and maybe know more about the copyright side of it, and maybe, just maybe, they'd hold some form of copyright over this show. To no one's surprise, they weren't able to supply me with a copy but suggested I contact the State Library of Western Australia, which I did. They even had the beta tapes of the show. It was a goldmine, but you can probably guess the response. They have a copy of the show, but as they aren't the copyright holders, they can't give permission for me to obtain a digital copy of the show. Although in their email they did admit that Westway were now defunct and asked if I could get a letter from Screen West saying that they have the copyright and that they give me permission to have copies. So I reached out to Screen West again, and they obviously don't have the copyright, but I think that the State Library of Western Australia thought that it may also be an orphan work. So I reached out to Screen West, as I said, and they denied me again. That was another dead end for me. One name that popped up multiple times in my conversations was the name of the producer, who I had searched for on Instagram with no luck at all. One person said that the last they heard he was in the UK and that he was likely retired, as he was supposedly retiring when the first series, Trapped, was made, but that they hadn't kept in contact and wasn't actually sure if he was still alive. I had found who I thought was a relative of theirs on Instagram, but they had a private account and I requested to follow. They didn't accept, which is fair enough, you know, I'm just a random person, and that was a dead end for me. Turns out that Westway Productions was owned by the producer of the show, and from my understanding, although the company went under, they still held copyright as long as they were alive. So with that, I had hopes that wherever they were alive and well. Otherwise, copyright was going to get even more confusing. And then I got an email from someone I'd been in contact with a single screenshot of a Facebook profile. It looked like they had found the producer. So I had two options in that moment: leave it alone or send a friend request. And after a lot of deliberation, I decided to send a friend request. Someone I spoke to compared it to being a journalist, so I took the risk. In the name of journalism, I guess, amateur journalism, trying to find a piece of lost media. On July 26th, I also decided to reach out to a relative of theirs, which I was very conflicted about, but I risked it anyway. I thought they'd have more of a chance of reading my message and responding to it, and luckily, I was right. Their relative was so kind to me. I mentioned how I was trying to get a hold of their relative and look for a copy of Castaway, and that it was my last resort, and that I had contacted a lot of different places like the ABC, NFSA, and the State Library of Western Australia, as I mentioned previously in the video. They said that their relative did have a copy but asked who I was and why I'd like a copy. And as much as I would have loved to have sent this video to them, obviously it wasn't made then. I responded by saying the following: My name is Jack, I'm a lost media enthusiast, although this is a personal thing. I grew up watching the show and loved it as a kid. I wouldn't shut up about it. Unfortunately, it's now lost media since Westway closed and the links to buy it no longer work and haven't for years. It can't be found or purchased anywhere as there were no DVDs to my knowledge. It's more a personal thing, honestly. A company called Zodiac Kids took episodes of Trapped off YouTube, and even an episode of Castaway down that was uploaded by Northway. Zodiac were the first people I contacted and they never got back to me. I believe they're falsely taking them down. The show was uploaded in Swedish years ago onto YouTube, but only one episode wasn't taken down for copyright by Zodiac. Just to clarify before I continue, you may think, well, that's conflicting with what I said earlier. There's one episode of Castaway that was uploaded in Swedish that hasn't been taken down. The other episodes were Trapped, and they're separate shows. That's what I was referring to. Anyway, on to what I said. It's impossible to find and has been for years. Lost media is very interesting to me, and this particular case has been on my mind for years. They are, to my knowledge, the only hope in the world that this show will ever see the live day again. Because of Zodiac, it can't be re-uploaded to YouTube, and I think it will be sad to be lost. It was such a good show and a big piece of my childhood. If they want to leave it in the past, I completely understand. They responded and said, send me your details and I'll send you a copy of the show. You can promote it as much as you like. They also confirmed that the producer does own the copyright. So I gave them my email address because I just assumed it was digital copies. But no, they were DVDs. so I forwarded them my postal address. Then we spoke a bit about Zodiac Kids, and they said that they may have the copyright if it was sold to them by an American distributor who had some of the rights at one stage. So the American distributor might have sold their rights to Zodiac Kids, and that might be where it actually comes into place, and it may actually be fully legal, but it's still a bit strange to me. They finished off by saying thank you for being so determined to track it down, and the producer was so passionate about their work, and to know that it means so much to someone was huge. So, after all that time and effort, I can report that I have the DVDs in my possession. Here's Trapped, and here is Castaway. Here they are together. It also came with a nice card, which was really thoughtful, and keeping it in the DVD case. I also thought that these were just going to be in sleeves and just copies, but they're actually genuine. I'll show you what the DVDs look like. So, what now? Well, I've gone forward and digitized the whole series. By that I mean I've copied the entire series, all the DVDs, to my computer. That card that was included said that they're production copies, and looking at them, there's the logo and episode duration, etc. to start. I am going to cut those off the recordings though that I upload. Unfortunately, I can't upload them all onto YouTube because of Zodiac Kids copyright related stuff. I mean, technically I probably could. I could fight it and appeal the content ID, because I think that I'd technically be in the right in that situation. It'd take 2 weeks for each of them, and I honestly can't be bothered. So, where can you watch it? Well, I'm gonna upload the show entirely to the Internet Archive, which will be in the description of this video. I'll also upload the first episode of Trapped onto YouTube, and there will be a link to the others in the description of that video. And I'll also upload an episode of Castaway too, and have the link to that show in the description as well. I hope that watching this video inspires you to find some lost media, or just look into lost media in general. It's really interesting. And know that there's more than one avenue to find something. And to the people who helped me find this, pointed me in the direction of anyone who answered and therefore helped me in my quest, thank you so much. And of course, to the producer and the relative, the world of thank yous goes out to you. This wouldn't have been solved without your help. Now a whole new generation, a whole new world of people can watch the series in its entirety, and hopefully they will enjoy it as much as I did as a kid. And I have been rewatching the series at my own leisure. I'm halfway through the first series, and it's held up really well. I know this was a bit of a different type of video, so if you made it this far, thanks for watching. If you're new here, there'll be a video on the end and a playlist on the end to videos that I usually make. Peace.